We're recording now. Okay. Anyway, so says Rabbi Yirmiyah, starting from Lamed Gimel Amid Beis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up. Rabbi Yirmiyah Amar, shiny kilkala. Kilkala is different. The case of basket's different. Hoyel v'yochel in toisa, since you're able to invert it. Ulevia l'toichasara, and to bring it b'toichasara. Since you can invert it and bring it b'toichasara, it's considered what? A rishus a carmelis. Mela, it's accessible, and therefore what? It's ben hashmashos, you're good. Yosera Papa v'kamalosh meitzar, this teretz Ravina, Esvei Rav Shva, l'Rav Papa, Ketzir Oisa. Now, the Malicha Barishain, yeah, it's Erev Shabbos, it's Yontif going into Shabbos. Malicha Barishain u'machshechalav. You go ahead, you bring it on Thursday night. You go ahead and you kind of shvis on Yontif. For Noila, you take it back home. Ubaloi b'sheni, and then you come back on Friday night. Machshechalav. You machshech. You can't bring it home now because it's Shabbos. And you eat it. Ubaloi, you come home. Okay. It's not important right now about the Erev, Friday, Shabbos, Yontif. We're going to deal with that. Now, the whole reason you brought that in, if you look at the bottom line of Rashi, guys, the bottom line of Rashi, the Haydin Naket Loi Suve Mastisan the Yontif for Shabbos, Mishum Bloi Tnab in a Mishnah. That we brought this in, we never learned in a Mishnah Achrita Choylech Erech Behedya. This is the only Mishnah that says physically you're transporting an Erev. That's all we have to know is that physically you're transporting an Erev. Don't go ahead and get caught up the fact that you're learning a Yontif Shabbos Tikkadim because that's not Nageya now. That we're going to see in Daf Lamed Ches. All that we brought this in for was simply because this is the only Mishnah where it mentions that you're physically transporting an Erev to the spot of where you are. Good? Says the Gemara. Now, Amai, Neima, Kivin the Boyam, you're telling me the following. If you don't have to invert something, what we consider inverted, Neima, Kivin the Boyam Tuye, since you're able to get it there, Matzi Matile, then Afagav Glam Taya, Kimandam Taya Dami. Why don't we just say that since I could get it there, we'll consider it as if it is there. You're telling me that we'll invert the basket. So go ahead and don't say, I don't have to bring the food there. Let's go ahead and say, since you could bring the food there, let's view it as there already. So I'm Rabbi Stern, Gezeira Mishum Yontif Shechal Yos Acha Shabbos. Gezeira Yontif that falls what? After Shabbos. Says Rashi, Hodet Shrichu Rabbanan top line. That the Rabbanan require. L'chol Hama'arvin L'hoilech Eruvin L'malkim Sheswasan. Everyone requires to bring the food there, and we don't say you could do it virtually. Gezeira Mishum Yontif Acha Shabbos. Where Yontif falls right after Shabbos. The boilam tuye b'Shabbos l'erev yom ha'machras le'matzi matile. You won't be able to do it. In other words, you can't go ahead and do it on Shabbos. So therefore, the whole reason they have to bring is because since you can't do it, you won't virtually do it. Back inside the Gemara. Esibei niskaven lishvais b'shus harabim. If you have a kavanah to leave the erev in b'shus harabim, v'niach eruvay b'koisel l'mata me'asar tefachim. Okay, let's see the case. Nothing like a picture. You have a wall. You're outside 4 amis. And your Erev is above here. It's not a good Erev. Right. If you leave it below 10, it's accessible, right? It's accessible. It's below 10. It's not Rishus HaYachid. Above 10, it's the Ein Eruvay Erev. That's the first case. That's simple by now. We know that. That's not a problem. Okay. Let's continue the case inside. Guys, we're asking Rav Yirmiyah. Guys, we're going back to Rav Yirmiyah now, the inverted. That if you view something as inverted, we should have a case where the inversion, I think I made up that word, the inversion will go ahead and create it into a rishus, an accessible Erev. Niskaven lishvais b'shus harabim, ve'niach eruvoy b'koisel lemata me'asara. That's the case we just saw. So lemata me'asara tfachim eruvoy Erev, l'mayel miyut tfachim ein eruvoy Erev. Niskaven lishvais b'roish hashoivich b'roish hamigdal. You want, guys, picture number 29. You want your kavana is to be kind of shvisa over here. You want to be kind of shvisa at the top, right? Now this is accessible to you, correct? You're here. You're in Rosh Hashanah. Where is your Erev? Rosh Hashanah, correct? So I want to be kind of shvisa here. I reach down. I got it. No problem. There you go. However, if it's over here, if it's all the way below the 10 tfachim by the aleph, then ein eruv yerev. Why? Again, what's a rule of thumb? Hu b'makam echad, ve'eruv b'makam acher. He's in one place. He's in the Rishus HaYachid, and this erev what is in the Carmelis or the Rishus HaRabim. So therefore, it would not work. Why don't you go ahead and say the following? If I can go ahead and turn it over, right, I can invert it, right? Why don't we say Yachal and Taisai, and therefore I can go ahead and bring it. I'd be able to see. Here you are. If you just like you invert the basket, it works. So do I invert it over here? It should work. Let's see the Rashi Vamai. Rashi explains. Vamai, parallel to the Tosfos Gezeru at the Yontif. Vamai lamata miyud eino eruvay. Why, if it's below 10? Why, if it's below 10, ein eruvay erev? Why is it not a good erev? Nema, why don't we say hoyel b'yachal and toisay hamigdal? I'm able to go ahead and incline the migdal, the tower. Will ashlichay lemata and throw the tower below. Now, when I'm going below. So now my makam shvisa is going to go down, guys. In the case before, we made it from Rosh Hashanah to a Carmelis because we moved the Erev. Over here, we're moving our makam shvisa. You hear the difference? In the case where it was the basket, what was the problem? I was in Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, and my Erev was in Rosh Hashanah. When I inverted the basket, it put my Erev into my domain. Over here, this is staying below 10. My makam shvisa is coming below 10, right? You hear now, but what am I creating? Again, what's the rule of thumb? I'm creating eruv and v'hu b'makam echad. It doesn't make a difference, guys, if you bring the eruv into this place. It doesn't make a difference if you bring the place into the eruv. Yeah, it's geschmack. You bring it over here. You're changing his locale. Continues Rashi. The place of his shvisa is now in below in Rosh Hashanah. He could take it from the Carmelis. It's below 10. Again, the Carmelis to Rosh Hashanah is the Rabbanon. It's Ben Hashmashos, and we all know we're going according to Rebbe. The Legazu al Shvus. We're not going on Shvus. This Mishnah has to be according to Rebbe. The Tani Reisha. He said, he's proving that it's according to Rebbe from this case. All right. Guys, this case over here has to be according to Rebbe. Watch. Here it's no good. Here it is good. Below 10, what is this? Carmelis, correct? Yes. Carmelis, below 10, Carmelis. Where are your makam shvisa? Below. You're going from a Carmelis to a Rosh Hashanah, which is Asa de Rabbanon. We're saying it's a good Erev. So when the Reisha is according to Rebbe, Al Karchach, the Seifa that discusses this case also must be according to Rebbe. Thus, if this is according to Rebbe, beautifully, why don't we say, go ahead, incline it, move it down. Now your Erev's in a Carmelis, you're in the Rosh Hashanah, right? According to Rebbe, it should work. According to Rebbe, it should work. How are we doing? I don't see you. Let me see.
Laser, the wall picture. It's the arrows. It looks like that the loaves are beyond the dalaramas, no? Or is that just the way it's?
again, I don't know what you're looking at, but you know what, guys? It's all the same concept. It's all, again, it's once you get the concept, the Gemara, it's geschmack. The Gemara goes, it flows right through. Everything's great. Once you get the concept, everything is geschmack. So we're asking the following. Let's go through it outside. We're asking the following. We had a case of a brisa, according to Rabbi Yirmiyah, where you had a basket. The pole was 4 tefachim wide, and the basket was above 10 tefachim. 10 by 4 is Rosh Hashanah. Said the Mishnah that is a good Erev. Fred the Gemara, why is it a good Erev? It's you're in one place, you're in Rosh Hashanah, and your Erev is in Rosh Hashanah. Answer the Gemara, you invert it. By inverting it, what are you doing? You're taking the Erev, going from Rosh Hashanah into a Carmelis. Once it's a Carmelis, you're good. Once it's a Carmelis, you're totally good because it goes according to Rebbe. We're now going ahead and asking on him from a brisa. Brisa means 2 cases. One, you have a wall, you put your Erev in the wall. If it's above 10, it's no good. If it's below 10, it is good. That proves it's according to Rebbe, because according to the Chachamim, even below 10 is not good. Because the Chachamim hold, remember the box in the chart, the Chachamim hold below 10, they were geyser on a Carmelis, right? Because even though it's the Rabbanan, they were geyser ben Ishmashais. So al karchach, therefore you have to arrive at the assumption that Rebbe is the Tan of the Brisa when below 10 is good. Therefore we have a problem. When his shvisa is above 10, his shvisa now is different. Guys, he's going not to Rosh Hashanah, we're putting him at the top of a tower. If the Erev is above 10, it's kosher, because they're both in Rosh Hashanah. If the Erev is below 10, it's not good. It's not good. Fred the Gemara, why is it not good? Invert the tower, we'll take his Makom Shvisa, put it below 10. Then according to Rebbe, it should work. That's Akasha. Ella must be when it doesn't work, then inversion doesn't work. That's the question. We're good with some Baruch Hashem. Let's see it inside. Says the Gemara. I'm gonna take it from the top. Esevei, 4 lines down. Niskamen lishvais b'shus harabim. Yimechavent kol lishvais b'shus harabim. This is the case of the wall. Ve'iniach eruvoid b'kaisel. So you are in the Rosh Hashanah. You put the Erev in the wall. Lemata me'asara tfachim. Below 10, eruvoy Erev. According to Rebbe, it's a Carmelis. You're good. L'mayla me'yut tfachim ain't eruvoy Erev. Kuli alma. Midaraisa tzaitzah. It's not going to work. You're going to be going from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. This second case, Nishkavan Lishois Beroish Hashoibech, even the top of a coop, Beroish Hamigdal, the top of a tower, you Mechavan, go ahead, lad. Lamaila Miyud Tfachim, Eruvay Erev. Then the Erev is a good Erev. Lamata Miyud Tfachim, ain't Eruvay Erev. Vamai, why? Hachanami Nema Hoyel Biyachal and Taisay Lehevili Taichasara. Why don't we say you can get it? So, Rav Yirmiyah Hachav and Migdal Mesum Raskinan. We're dealing with a migdal that is mesumar, it's nailed to the wall, right? Rava amafilu tema migdal sheina mesumar. For hacha b'migdal oroch askinon, it's speaking of a very long migdal. The imamati lay porta, if you go and knock it down, azul chutz the arba amis, it's going to go outside of arba amis. Hechidami, if you could kavsu masna, if you have a chaloin and a rope, let's say b'kavsu masna, go bring it with a rope, the less they kavsu masna. Okay. This is Rashi's first pshat that I shared with you. Now we're going to share with you the Rashi's second pshat, which he says is the main pshat. Okay? Here's what's going on, guys. Gotta make it a little smaller. This is one of the dafim where you say, "Thank you, Hashem, for the Perish Chai." We're speaking where it's not in the migdal. In the first pshat, the bread was in the migdal. In the second pshat, we're synthesizing case number 1 with case number 2. We're synthesizing the case of the wall with the case of the migdal. In the first case, I explained that it's 2 totally separate cases. The case of the wall and the case of the migdal, as illustrated by the picture. Look at illustration number 34, guys, now. Look at illustration number 34. What do you have? You have the migdal, correct? Where's his Makom Shvisa? At the top. Where's the bread? It's in the wall. Now, if he's here and this is above 10, are they in the same locale? Absolutely. So therefore, this is a good Eruv. Him and his Eruv are in the same locale. However, if it's below, right, it's over here, then it's not going to be any good because it's in a different locale. So now we synthesize the two cases. The Gemara asks, why don't you say, if you turn it over, then it'll be in the same locale, right? Then it'll be in the same locale. Why don't we do that? Now it says the Gemara, here what are we dealing with? We're dealing with a really, really, really long, okay, this is not good. We're dealing with a very long, this, when you go ahead and incline it, your Abba Amis, you're going to be over here, and this is going to be over here. So you're going to not be able to get to it. You're not going to be able to get to it. Therefore, it's outside 4 Amis, guys. You won't be able to get to it. So your Makom Shvis is over here and over here. So there's Gavaldiga Kasha. You should be asking me. Didn't we just say if it's over here, you can walk less than 4 Amis, 4 Amis, 4 Amis? Remember, that's how you're going to get it in? Over here, you're going to have to rely on two Dinei Drabanan. One, the heter of walking less than 4 Amis, and 2, the heter of Carmelis to Rosh Hashanah. We'll allow 1, fellas. We won't allow 2. And therefore it's Asa. Geshmak? Totally Geshmak. Totally Geshmak. Fred Gemara, so why don't you take this? You have a window over here. Yeah, you're over here. Pull it in. Right? Why don't we do that? Says the Gemara, you don't have that. You don't have a Kisner or Masna available. That's the case. How are we doing? Good? It's very good. I thought it's excellent, right? You two pshat, and we saw the first pshat, it was in the tower itself. The second pshat, and it has nothing to do with the first case. Second pshat, we synthesized the 2 cases. Rashi says the second pshat is the ikar. And again, the big yisoid is what? If you go according to Rebbe, you're not going to be a shmashas. You'll be able to take from a Carmelist to a Rishus Harabim. Because Rabbanan ben shmashas, they weren't going to. Nasnu b'bor afilu omik meyam. Okay, the rest of the Gemara is easy. We said in the bar that even if it's 100 amis, it's accessible. It's a good erev. High bar dekoy heicha. Where is this exactly? Is this bar? Elaim with dekoy b'shus hayachid. If the bar is in b'shus hayachid amid beis, pshita b'shus hayachid oila adrokia. In other words, if your erev's in the bar, as long as you're in the same b'shus, you're good. You're good. I look here. V'chiheichid the salka la'el. And just like Rishus Harabim ascends up, it descends down. So just like it ascends up, it descends down. You're in the same area. Therefore, of course, it's good. So there's no chiddush. To say that the bars in Rishus Hayachid is nicht kein chiddush. The Ella, what's the chiddush? The koi Rishus Harabim. It must be the bar is in a Rishus Harabim. Now, so the bar is in Rishus Harabim. If it's 100 amas deep, we said it's a good erev. Even 100 amas deep. Even 100 amas deep is a good erev. Question, where are you? Where are you being kind of shvisa? If it's in Rishus Harabim, again, what's the rule of thumb, guys? The big side, you need to be hu ve'eruvoi b'makam echad. Him and his erev have to be in the same domain. They have to be in the same domain. So now let's see how this works. So, heicha, where's the skabel lishvais heicha? Where's the skabel lishvais? Ilamayla, if above, if above meaning in Rishus Hayachid, who b'makam echad ve'eruv b'makam acher, right? You're going from Rishus Harabim the bar to Rishus Hayachid, right? Ilamata, if below, so pshita, high ve'eruv b'makam echad. And if he's in the pit, right? If he's in Rishus Harabim, it's the same thing. Like tzricha dekoy b'karmelis. The pit is in a bika, guys. The pit is in a bika, guys. If he's in the pit with he's kind of shvisa in the pit, and the air is in the pit, there's no chiddush. If he's outside the pit, and the air is in the pit, it doesn't work, correct? Because he's in Rishus Hayachid, it's one domain, and the pit is another domain. What happens if his pit is in a bika, in a valley? A valley is a Carmelis. So now, what's the chiddush, guys? Rebbe, like Rebbe, it works. Says the Gemara. Or how about it says the Gemara? It's more like tzricha, the koi b'karmelis. The pit is in a Carmelis, in a bika. And he wants a mechavein to go ahead and be koine shvisa in the Carmelis. The Rebbe, and it goes according to Rebbe, the Amar kol davashu mishum shvus like gazru lov ben hashmashos. Anything that's mishum shvus, you're not going to ben hashmashos. How are we doing? Okay, you all good? So let's look back at that little Mishnah on Lamed Beis Amid Aleph. Lamed Beis Amid Beis. Nasna b'ila l'mayla me'asar tfachim ein eruv v'yerev. Right? It's got to be the erev is outside 4 amis, and it's inaccessible from the top. Right? Since it's outside 4 amis, he can't climb in from the top and make it from Rishus HaYachid to Rishus HaYachid. Again, fellas, now you understand the Gemara. If he'd be able to climb in, then you would be considered that the erev is in his domain. It's accessible. So he said, no, it's outside 4 amis. It's inaccessible. Remember, the tree is outside. Lemata, if it's below, then it works. Why? Because we're going according to Rebbe, who holds Lemata, which is a Carmelis, in a Rishus HaRabim. It's only the Rabbanan to go from a Carmelis to Rishus HaRabim. Rebbe says, Bein Hashmashos, when the Erev Tchumim takes effect, since the Al Issa was a Shvus of the Rabbanan, they weren't Geyser, and therefore why it works. That's the first part of the Mishnah. The latter part of the Mishnah, Naslan Bibor Afilu Omik Meya Amay Ruvay Erev, the same Chiddush. He's putting it in a bar that's in a valley. He is being playing Shvisa in the Carmelis out in the valley. Even since it's only accessible to Rabbanan, and since it's Kona Shvisa Ben Hashmashos, therefore it works. That's Pshat in the Mishnah. A few little lines. Penny Fisher, you're Yisoid. I mentioned your name when you on the rare occasion when you weren't there.
I heard my theory on Rashi. My theory on Rashi.
Yeah, what's your Rashi theory?
The shorter the blot, the harder it is.
If what? Only if?
There's a lot of Rashi.
A lot of Rashi, right. There you go. So you see, this is your classic rule.
Exactly.
Okay, now, let's now, nice Gemara, guys. Gobaita. Beautiful. Let's see the Gemara on Lamedal and Amid Beis. Lamedal and Amid Beis. Nasnu, I don't think you need a picture for this. I'll give you a quick picture just because Steve Geller likes to put them out there. You know, I have to give Steve, feed Steve this fix. He loves this. And we love him. There you go. You got a kundis, which is a pole. You got a kana, which is a stick. You're sticking an erev on top of it, right? You're sticking an erev on top of it. That's the case. That's the case. Okay. Let's see what we got now. Nasta Beresha Kana, or Beresha Kundis, you're putting your erev on top of a pole or a kundis. Bismanshu Talosh, fellas, when it's disconnected and you stuck it in the ground, Vinoyats, Afilu Gavoya Kuf Ama, here is the erev. Even if it's 100 amas high, it's a good erev. Do you know why? Because the pole is not 4 tefachim wide. Since it's not 4 tefachim wide, it's not a Rishus HaYachid. Says Rashi. Kundis is plo. That's a pole. They spelled it wrong. Pilam and right? Pole. Anyway, blaz. I was kidding. It's not connected. And the Gemara will ask, Rebbe says that, right, that even if it was mechuber, it should not be a problem. Guys, listen to the kasha. Let's say the pole was attached to the ground. Why do we call wood that's attached to the ground? We have a name for it. It's called a tree. Yes? Wood that is attached to the ground is called a tree. Using a tree is what is also the Rabbanan. Since this Mishnah is going according to Rebbe, what would the problem be if it's attached to the ground? Why do you need it disattached? Even if it was attached, you should be able to use it. Mishamash be'ilan is only the Rabbanan, right? Yehuda, if you yawn, everyone's going to start yawning in the Zoom, right? If you mishamish be'ilan, fellas, Rebbe says is good. Yes, Rebbe says it's good if you mishamish be'ilan. So why do you need disattached? You hear the kasha? Disattached makes it that there's no issa d'Rabbanan. It's not a tree. It's not a Rishus HaYachid because it's not 4 tefachim wide, right? Asks Rashi. Rashi is giving you a foreshadow of the Gemara's kasha. What's the kasha? Look at Rashi. With the Gemara parach, and the Gemara will ask, he said the Reisha goes according to Rebbe, as we proved, the Amar loy gazu b'mechuber ben hashmashos. So even if it was attached to the ground, it should be no problem. I feel gavoy mea ama hoil bein a rochav dalad lamata lavish sayachid hu v'afag. Right, it's not rish sayachid. Even though above it's right, but gabi makam dalabina. You know what? It's the error to be makam dalad. Let's see in the Gemara. If you put the arrow on top of a pole or on top of a reed, this manchu talish if it's disconnected with ayas, I feel gavoy kufamar is the area because it's not rish sayachid because it's not 4 amas wide, 4 tefachim wide. Rami le Rabbi Adabar Masal Rava talish v'noy it's in. It's only a good erev when it's disconnected and stuck in the ground. Loy talish, but if it's not disconnected, meaning it's mechubar, then no, it's yes, Steve.
Is the pole in any way related to the bar on Lamed Beis, where it says the bar could be 100 amos deep and it's still valid, and it's used the same?
No, the bar was a valid Rosh Hashanah. This is not a Rosh Hashanah. This is a Makam Patur, Steve. Okay. Since it's not 4 tefachim wide, it's Pater.
Okay.
The bar is Rosh Hashanah. It's a valid Rosh Hashanah. Now, says Gemara money. Who's the Tanav Mishnah? Rabbanan he. It's the Rabbanan. The Amar Kol Davishim Mishim Shvus. Fellas, if it was mechubat to the ground, why is not a good erev? It's because you're being mishamish be'ilan. You're using a tree, which is asa de rabbanon. Ben hashmashos, according to the rabbanon, it's asa. So now you have a stira between Mishnah on Lamed, the Mishnah, our Mishnah here. Go back to our Mishnah. Go back to Lamed Beis, Lamed Beis. Nasna be'ilan l'mayla me'asarat tfachim ein eruvay erev. Lemata me'asarat tfachim eruvay erev. Now why? Why is it? It's in a tree. You can't touch a tree. This goes according to Rebbe that you could touch a tree because they weren't geyser, correct? Now go over here. The inference from here is the only reason it's good is because it's disattached. Mashma, if it was attached, there was a tree, it would not be good. That's a contradiction between the Mishnah and Lamed Beis and the Mishnah and Lamed Dalet. Often a stira. That's the Rami. Nachamo. Rami le Rav Adabar Masal Rava talish v'nayatz. If you disconnect and you reconnect, then ein loy. Tol if it's just disconnected and not, but it's connected, meaning it's mechuber loy. It doesn't work. Money. Who would not allow you to use a tree? Rabbanan who? The Amri called Shvus, Gazul Ben Hashmashos. I Amir Reisha, the Mishnah, a tree, Lamatami Asara does work. Is Rebbe. Reisha Rebbe, the Sefer Rabbanan. Again, and what's the problem? We always want the Mishnah to be consistent according to one Mandi Amar. We don't want to go ahead and say it's 2 different Mandi Amar. We always want to be consistent according to one Mandi Amar. And for the Gemara Amalei, keep Va'amid Reisha, Rebbe, Reisha, Sefer Rabbanan. Amalei, Kfar Rami Le, Rami Bar Chamal Rav Chisda, the Shani Le, this question was asked and he answered him, Reisha, Rav, Rebbe, the Sefer Rabbanan. Good. Ravina Amar Kula Rebbe, he, the Sefer Gezerah Shema Yiktaim. The Sefer, what are you worried about? Shema Yiktaim. Now, a reed is very thin. If you would go ahead and use a tree, a hard tree, I'm not worried about you cutting off a piece of the tree. If you use a reed or a pole, which are connected, which are not as hard because they haven't been around the earth that long to widen and be hard, then even Rebbe would be moida that you can't do it. Why? Because Shema Yiktam is an Issa Deraisa. You cutting, in other words, the first Mishnah where you're using a full-fledged tree, then it's the Rabbanon. Since it's the Rabbanon, Ben Hashmashos v'nat geyser. Over here is a more severe problem because the fact it's very thin. Since it's very thin, we're scared you may come to chip off a piece. Says Rashi, Gezerah Shema Yiktoim, Lefi she'akona rach, the kon is soft. Ooh. Ikal and Migzer, let's be geyser, Shema Yiktaim, Kishakale. When you take your Erev off, you're going to go ahead and rip off a piece of the tree. Avalilan Kashahu, but a tree is hard. Uben Hashmashos, the Shema Yalav Yilesh Leichashinan, that you're going to climb the tree and use it, we're not worried. Avalakatimas Kana, the cutting of a reed by the disattaching of the Erev, Vadaihi. Vaday, that's something I need the rechicha, since it's very soft, mikitma, you'll cut it off, falav shvusu, and that's not a shvus, that's a deraisa. Ela malacha de mechayev mishum kaitzer. That's the malacha, one of the 39 called cutting, reaping, harvesting. So gishmak. So two terutzim. Outside, let's see it outside. Look at me. Let's look at me. Zoom in. Stira. Mishnah lamet alpha and base. What is the stira according to Rebbe? Over here, according to the Rabbanon. Mishnah, okay? That's one teretz. Second teretz, both Rebbe. What's the difference? First Mishnah speaking about a tree. Second Mishnah speaking about a reed. Difference reed and tree. That you're going to climb up the tree and use the tree, I'm not worried. If you're going to disattach over here the area from a soft reed, I am worried that you're going to take a piece off. Taking a piece off is not within the Rabbanon. That's called kaitzer. Therefore, even Rebbe will be moida by a kana. If it's attached, doesn't work. So now it's consistent. Reish and safe is according to Rebbe.
So when you put a reed back in the ground, it's not sturdy. So when you put your eruv on that reed that's not sturdy, is that okay? Because that's never
exactly
really
the case of the Mishnah.
But it's really not a good. It's not.
Who cares about sturdiness? I care about domain. Where are you located? Are you and your eruv in the same spot?
But are you allowed to put your eruv in a place that you know it's going to fall apart? You know.
Now, is knowing it's going to fall apart, is that your assumption, or the Gemara says that?
The fact that it's not sturdy.
Again, why do you assume that?
Because it's not something that's attached anymore. It's not something.
Again, it's concerning an eruv.
When it's attached, certainly you're going to be.
Let me ask you a question, Heshi. If it would fall down after bein hashmashas, what would it then be?
It would be okay.
So why do you care? I need it to be sturdy. I need it to be I need it to be sturdy for 1 second.
Okay, so that's the answer then.
That's exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Therefore, that's what I'm saying.
All right, that's the answer. Okay.
Okay, guys, everyone's good. It's one theme throughout. It should be Geshmak by now, right? If it's not Geshmak by now, 70 years, Mitzvah Hashem, everything's going to work out. You'll be able to watch the tape. Go to YouTube. Says the Rabbi. Hahu Pul Musa, there was this army. The Asil in Ardai came to Ardai, and Rav Nachman needed more space for his Talmidim because of the army taking away space. So Amr Rav Nachman, he told his Talmidim, Erev Shabbos, Poku Avidu Kivushe Kivsha Ba'agma, go to the swamp, press down on the reeds there that we have a place to sit. And tomorrow we'll go sit upon them. Rami Bar Chamal Rav Nachman, Vimi Rav Ukva Bar Chaba Rav Nachman, Tolish v'noyetz in, loy tolish v'loy noetz loy. So l'chayra, if it's not sturdy, if it's still attached, you can't use it. So how are you able to sit down on something that's attached? So Amalei Hassam by a Mishnah, it's speaking b'uzradin where it's hard. It's speaking where it's hard. Rashi says b'uzradin. How are you able to go ahead? Here's the kasha. Let's get the kasha straight. If it's attached to the ground, you can't use it, right? Why can't you use it? Because you're being mishamish be'ilan. We said the fact that it's disattached, you can use it. The fact that it's attached, you can't use it because it's mishamish be'ilan. Over here, we're using where it's attached to the ground, correct? So the question is, how was Rav Nachman able to do that? It's a question from our Mishnah. As long as it's attached to the ground, you're mishamish be'ilan. What's the Gemara's teretz? Our Mishnah is speaking b'uzradin where it's hard, and Rav Nachman was speaking where it's soft. Rashi says uzradin shohukshu kfar. It got hard already. So harikilon, then it's like an elon. Chisharinon, and when did Rav Nachman permit to use it? B'sheinu uzradin, when it wasn't hard. Ba'oida konim rachin, but it was still soft. It has a din of a yerek. The whole din of using a tree is the Gezerah de Rabbanan. The Rabbanan were geyser on a hard tree. They weren't geyser on soft reeds. You're asking a stira from our Mishnah to the actions of Rav Nachman. In our Mishnah we said, only if it's disattached you could use it. If it's attached to the ground, you can't because it's a tree. In our case, but if Nachman, it's attached to the ground. And for the Gemara, As Mishnah is speaking where it's hard. Since it's hard, the Gezer of the Chachamim falls into place. You're being Mishamish Be'ilan. In the case of Nachman, it's soft. It's considered a vegetable. It's considered a yerek. It's not considered a tree. And the Chachamim were never goyzer by a yerek that you can't use it on Shabbos. So that would answer where Nachman was able to do it. Amalei, Hasam Bizradim. There our Mishnah was speaking where it was hard. And the Gesera of using a tree falls into place. How do we know there's the difference between the Zradim, that it's called a tree, and Ein Zradim, that it's called a Yerek, the Tanya, Hakonim, Atodim, Hagigin, reeds and thorns and thistles, Min Ilan Hain. They're all Min Ilan. The Ein Kalayim B'Kerem. That we saw earlier in the Masechta, Klai Kerem is only if it's a Yerek B'Kerem. If it's an Ilan B'Kerem, remember you didn't have to distance 4 Amis. The Ilan B'Yerek, you didn't have to distance 4 Amis. So therefore, if this has a din of what? Of a tree and not a Yerek. Therefore, you can plant it in a Kerem. V'tanya Yidach, Hakonim B'Hakevin V'Ruvanim Min Yerekain. V'Hen Kalayim B'Kerem. And you can't plant it. So you have a stira. It says Konim and Konim. The first one we say it's a tree, and the second one we say it's a Yerek. Elo Kasha Adadi. Konim is questioned. One place it's a tree, one place it's a Yerek. El Shmamino, Kambu Zradin. When's it a tree? When it hardened, and therefore you could plant it B'Kerem. Kan, when it's soft, then it's a Yerek. B'Sheinu Zradin, and you can't plant it in a Kerem. Shmamino, you have a good raya. Fred the Gemara, the Kida min Yereku, a side point. You just said Kida is a Yerek and you can't plant it in a vineyard. The Tran, Eimar Kivim Pagam Agabi Kida, you can't go ahead and graft Pagam on top of Kida, Lavana, Mifnei Shehu Yerek, Be'ilan. So you see that why it's considered a Yerek Be'ilan. Papa, Kida Lachud, the Kida Lavana Lachud. Kida Lavana is a type of baisim, it's a type of spice. And that case over there, it's considered that case over there is considered a yerek. You're taking you're grafting, guys. You can't graft 2 species, correct? So you told me that kida is considered you said kida is considered a tree. You see over here, kida levana is considered a yerek. So on that, 1 second, I'm making a mistake. Let me get it one more time. I'm missing it. Fred the Gemara, the Kida min Yereku. You mean to tell me Kida is a Yerek? Now, Kida Vatran Eimar Kivim Pigam, which is a Yerek, Agabe Kida Levana, which is a tree. So you see, Kida Levana is not a Yerek; it's a tree. So the answer is Kida is one thing, that's a Yerek. Kida Levana is a tree. Veshu Yerek Be'ilan. Pigam is the Yerek. Kida Levana is the tree. So question, you just told me Kida itself is considered a Yerek. Here you see it's a tree. Amrapata, Kida Lechud is a Yerek. Kida Levana Lechud is a tree. So Bez Hashem, we'll go ahead and see this tomorrow. Continue fighting tomorrow. Appreciate everyone coming on a Motzei Shabbos.